Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and my kitchen. So today we're going to be baking some chocolate chip cookies. I think this is the best chocolate chip cookie recipe ever. I don't know about y'all, but I think this is the best one. So let's get into it. So we're going to brown our butter. Now the reason I brown butter for chocolate chip cookies is because it gives it just the best flavor. So you're going to start out melting 2 sticks of butter in a pan on medium heat. I do it on medium heat. I don't do it so high because I don't want to burn my stainless steel. I think melting butter in stainless steel is better, but if you got a non-stick, that works just as fine. So what you're gonna do while it's melting, you want to kind of stir it, or just roll it around in the pan every so often, maybe like every 3 minutes, because you don't want the butter to start sticking and burning to the bottom of the pan. You don't want that because you don't want it to be burnt. Okay. So you're going to do that. And while it's boiling, it's going to look like this. It looks like the white foam at the top. That's just the fat that's separating from the butter. And it's also clarifying the butter as well. So in this process, you can get clarified butter if you want to before you brown it. So eventually you'll start seeing like some little small bubbles. So what that means is that now the butter is technically clarified and all the maybe like 90% of the fat is gone from the butter. And this is what you want. This is what you want to start to see, because when you start to see the little bubbles in the pan, that means it's almost ready. It's like halfway there. Now you see it's like foaming up again. That means that it's about to start turning brown. Now that the foam is kind of almost to the top of the pan, you'll start to see these brown specks coming out, and that is what you want to see. That is how you know that your butter is browned, basically. And it's telling you that the butter, now you have brown butter, and you can take it off the heat as well. You don't want to put it on, like leave it on too long, but as you stir it up, you'll start to see like the butter at the bottom is actually brown. And so that's how you make brown butter. You can use this for cookies, like chocolate chip cookies. You can use this for buttercream as well. It's really good in buttercream. I think you guys should try it for buttercream. But if you do it for buttercream, you have to make sure it turns into a solid again. So you'll just leave it in the pot, or leave it in some sort of bowl or anything like that, for about 24 hours, because you want it to be solid if you're going to use it for buttercream. All right, guys. So for the ingredients, we're going to use some granulated sugar, some light brown sugar, baking powder, baking soda, 2 eggs, cornstarch, vanilla extract, all-purpose flour, and the Ghirardelli semi-sweet chocolate chips. So for the all-purpose flour, I like to use enriched bleached all-purpose flour. I know some people use unbleached all-purpose flour. You can do that, but it doesn't turn your cookies out the way that I like them. It gives it like a different texture. It's like a crumbly texture, and I don't like that. So I use the a bleach all-purpose flour, and I gold medal is just the best all-purpose flour. I use it for cakes and cookies, and Pillsbury is a good brand as well. So I go between Pillsbury or gold medal, but gold medal is my go-to. We're gonna start out with 2 1/4 cup of flour. Then we're going to do a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of cornstarch, and a teaspoon of baking soda. I know some people don't put like all 3 in there for their cookies. They'll like not put baking soda or not put baking powder. I don't know. I've seen some people do that, but this is what I do. I like to put all 3 in there. I'm just gonna give it a good whisk. All right, y'all. So now that my butter has cooled down, as you can see, it's getting a little thicker than normal. It has cooled all the way down. I like cooling my butter all the way down, just so that when I bake my cookies after I've cooled them in the refrigerator, when I bake them, they don't get so flat. I like a flat cookie, but I don't like it to where it's like it looks like it's oily. So that happens when you don't let your butter, your brown butter, cool down fast enough. When you don't let it cool down like all the way. I'm sorry. So I let it cool down for about an hour, hour and a half. And as you can see the thickness in it, so I'm just going to pour it in here. I am going to take a cup of light brown sugar. Then I'm going to take 2/3 cups of granulated sugar. I'll pour 1 cup in there for the second. So now I'm going to close this down and give this a good mix. You can stop it. And then we're going to add both of our eggs. I like to add my eggs one at a time. So we're going to add in our eggs one at a time, okay? And add a teaspoon and a half of vanilla extract. So I added in half of my flour. All right, now I'm going to stop it right here because I want to show you guys that I know a lot of the times, like when we're baking cakes or whatever, and you see recipes about cakes, they'll say, oh, make sure you scrape the sides of the bowl. Make sure you always scrape the sides of the bowl. But with cookies, you really don't have to do that because when you're mixing your liquids with your flour with the cookies, the batter is going to scrape itself. So you'll see in a minute just what I'm talking about. Like you see how over here it's scraping itself. So you don't have to do that, yourself. It's going to do it for you. Okay, so you see how the bowl just cleaned itself, just like when you're making breads, different types of breads. When you're kneading the bread and the bowl cleans itself, it's the same way with cookies. I know, especially for this recipe, with these chocolate chip cookies, the bowl it cleans itself. Okay. So another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is this cookie dough. Now, this before I add in the chocolate chips, this is just a basic cookie dough recipe that you can use for anything. Like you can add in, sometimes I add in Oreos and white chocolate chips. Sometimes I do white chocolate chips and like freeze dried strawberries. So make like almost like a strawberry shortcake cookie type of thing. But you can add in M&Ms. You can add in anything that you want. Snickerdoodle, Heath bars, just any other types of things you want to add, in addition to like chocolate chips or white chocolate chips. I just think that this recipe is a good base for a cookie, even if you don't want any chocolate in it. Like I know, for instance, some of my family members can't have chocolate, and neither can I sometimes, but I still do it anyways because it breaks out my face. But sometimes I bake these cookies without chocolate chips in it at all. So I call it like a brown butter sugar cookie, and it's so good, like literally so good, because when you brown butter for cookies, you can smell, like even when you're doing it in the pan, you can smell like the nuttiness of the brown butter. It smells so good, and it makes the cookies like 100 times better. It makes it 100 times better. It's better than a typical sugar cookie that you'll see in the store, and it's like really really light. So I just think that this recipe is a good base as far as like cookie dough, and if any other thing that you want to add in a cookie dough, like I said, for like Oreos, or you want to add in M&M's, Snickerdoodle, Heath bars, I add in freeze dried strawberries or any, freeze dried blueberries, and it does bake well inside of the oven. I've done it, plenty of times, and it doesn't like the juice doesn't melt in the cookie. So, like I said, I think this is good base. Even if you're allergic to chocolate, you can just use this as a sugar cookie, right? And you'll still have that same taste as a chocolate chip, just without the chocolate. If you're allergic to it, if you have some type of intolerance to chocolate or dairy or anything like that, I think this would be great. Chocolate chip cookies. Now, for me, I do roll it up in balls and put it in the refrigerator, already pre-rolled. Sometimes I'll leave it just like this and put a saran wrap over it and leave it in the refrigerator. Whatever you decide, that's up to you. Just if you do it like this, if you leave it just like this in the refrigerator, it's gonna be a little harder to scoop it with the cookie scooper. So that's why I like to do it beforehand. Put it in a Tupperware bowl, whatever bowl you have, put the cover on it, stick it in the refrigerator for, I'll say at least, I know some people do 30 minutes, but I say at least an hour to 2 hours to stick it in the refrigerator to get that perfect result. Me personally, I like to leave my cookies in overnight. I like to leave them in overnight, and then bake it the next day. I think it gives you the best results for a chocolate chip cookie. All right, so I have my oven preheated already to 350. I have about 12 cookies on this cookie sheet pan. This is the big one, so I can put 12 on here. And so I'm gonna stick this in the oven for 12 minutes. I'm gonna put my timer on 12 minutes. I'm gonna take them out, and then I'll show you guys how it looks after. Now that you have mastered the perfect chocolate chip cookie, it's time to grab a glass of milk and dig in. But before you do, hit the like button, subscribe for more delicious recipes, and drop a comment with your secret cookie twist. What would you add to make it even more epic? Thanks for baking with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy baking!